Okay, now we're recording.
Okay, perfect.
Hey, my name is Monica. I'm your host. I am a certified master life coach, certified personal trainer, and certified nutrition coach. Today we have a guest with us. It's Werner Lippert. He comes to us from Germany. So we're going to be interviewing him. So stick around. Okay, Werner,
Yes.
tell me a little bit about you.
Yes. First, thanks for having me. Yeah, as you said, I live in Germany, Bavaria, in the wonderful Bavaria. The weather now is more gray and rainy, but we have
Mm.
some nice days. Um, yeah, I'm still 27 years old. I turned 28 in end of November. I I'm a learned electrician. Now I'm retraining for office management to add something to my job. So maybe raise up. And uh, yeah, what I'm doing like in my free time is hobbies. It's more than a hobby. It's CrossFit for sure. But my life, like all in all, is very active. I like to be inactive, try new things. I also like to read, go hiking, but it's also active. Yeah, only the reading is the more like non-active um, stuff, but the rest is like trying out new things, and even if it's a little ice bath in the winter.
I don't like snow, so um,
Yeah.
that wouldn't work for me. Um, so I see your shirt says volunteer.
Oh yeah. Oh, and yes, I'm. This was from the German Throwdown. It comes up every year in November, so I will be there this year too. Um, and I am volunteering there, and most times it's more the staging area. It's a CrossFit competition. First of all, it's a CrossFit competition. It's one of the elite ones. It's harder to get into, and like as a volunteer, you can judge. You could do like more of the organization stuff where I'm at, or build up the floor because someone has to pick up the weights and put it on the floor, actually, or change if they need boxes, they need barbells, dumbbells, whatever. And I helped out a little bit, but I'm more in the staging area, what means like I'm controlling the warm up area where the athletes warming up, and then kind of bring them out to the floor to the right time, and that they stay in the right lane because everything is on YouTube live and should looking good.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you mentioned CrossFit. How did you come to CrossFit?
Um, it happened in 2020. It was July 2020. I still remember my first class. It was pretty funny. Um, I was so before that, I have to start a little bit early. Before that, I was always doing something active, like sports. I started out with swimming, track running, athletics. Um, then later on, I started kickboxing, Muay Thai boxing. Did this for a while. A lot of like I worked out a lot with my own body. I never worked out with any machines or free weights or something. I mean, yes, free weights, some lighter dumbbells, but not really heavy. So then I was I was talking to a friend, and we were like, he was talking to me about CrossFit, like uh, because he's an army in the German army, and uh, yeah, he was telling me about the workouts, what they did, and he's like, it's kind of CrossFit, and I was like, I heard about it. Tell me more. And then we started talking about it, and it's like, this is actually how I like to working out. I was like, uh, and then I was looking up on the internet, and I found CrossFit Grafenberg, where I'm still at. Um, and then I get into my first class, and why it was funny. I still remember it was a Thursday, and we did snatches. Uh, was the Olympic lifting, and as a beginner, who never had a barbell in his hands. It was so weird to me, and I'm pretty sure it looked funny for everyone else. But they were really nice there. They helped me, and yeah, 3 years later, I started competing, doing competitions, volunteering to support the sport. I coaching, and I found at CrossFit Grafton where I'm at, I found kind of a second family, CFG family, we call it. So yeah.
Awesome. So you never really tried any other types of exercises very much, like going to a gym, just a traditional gym and working out on
I
machines and stuff like that.
tried this out. I tried this out once or twice, I don't know, but it was never mine. I would have trainer licenses. I would have a normal trainer license, personal trainer, medical trainer, and nutrition coach. And I'm over it to making my to get my CrossFit level 1. But it was never like, I don't know, the machines were never something where I could get into it. It felt not right. I see a benefit in it. It's not it. It is just not for me. I like to, uh, especially on CrossFit. You do in high intensity workouts. You do it's always different variations. You got Olympic lifting, you got endurance, you got normal weightlifting, and body weight stuff like push-ups and normal sit-ups or pull-ups, um, and also gymnastics, and so this variation of movements and then mixed together in a workout, that's amazing. That was for me. I love this kind of chaos, and to the same time, it's you're you learn when you're in a class, you learn to get order into this chaos, and um, most people most people I know fall in love with it, um, because of it, because of you doing all this stuff and mix it together. Because I think there is a difference. I mean, some people, they can lift the heavy weight, but are you able, are you still able to lift this heavy weight if you have done a run for 400 meters and then, or a row, and then you do some pull-ups, and then you have to lift a heavy barbell. So it's completely different then, you know?
You would think this is more like functional fitness than it is like traditional
Yes,
fitness.
it
Yeah,
is. Yes.
sounds good. So what would you recommend for somebody? Okay, so I'm 48 and so I'm old and I have arthritis.
No, no.
Yeah, I'm old. I have arthritis and I'm just now getting over like stress fractures in one of my feet and it still bothers me. So as far as doing stuff like that, I know I couldn't do box jumps. And I was talking to Brady about that one day. For those of you that don't know, Brady is the one that introduced
He's a
Werner and I.
masterpiece.
He's something.
He's a masterpiece. He is so into CrossFit. He's a level 2 CrossFit coach, and he's doing it since years. And yeah, he
So we'll
knows
have to
exactly
have
what
him
he's
on the
talking
show with
about.
us one day. So yeah,
Oh yeah. Oh, this will be funny.
yeah, yeah. Um, but so I was talking to him about that one day about me doing, I can't do box jumps right now. My foot is still
Yeah.
bothering me. I don't know if it's ever going to be right. This happened, well, it happened a long time ago. Long story short, um, I should have gone when it happened the first time, but I didn't know that's what it was, and it went on for years. So it really
Yeah. Oh
messed
yeah.
my foot up. Yeah. So I ended up in an air cast for 8 or 9 weeks, something like that. And then I had
Hmm.
to wear the post-op shoe that looks like a huge sandal on my foot for a few weeks.
Yeah.
And so it's still not completely healed. It doesn't feel like it is. But and there is arthritis there was before, which is what I thought it was to start with. And so now the arthritis is a little worse than it was before. So how do you recommend, like I said, when I was talking to him about box jumps, I can't do box jumps right now, but I could do box step ups. The problem is, like
Right.
when I step down on my left foot, it's on the ball of my foot, and that's, where your stress fractures are across the top of your foot on the ball of your foot. So how would you recommend doing something like that? To start with a small, like maybe 6-inch box or 12-inch box? Like,
Right, exactly. And this is so first of all, you're not old.
okay, thanks.
We we had someone in our class this week actually. She was 76. She
Wow.
was impressive. I mean,
Good
she
for
did
her.
pull-ups and crazy. I was so impressed. Uh, but to the same time, and that's why I love CrossFit, everything is scalable.
Hmm.
We and for your example, you can't do box jumps, box step ups, or if it box jump over, do step overs. It's totally fine. If the high is too much, um, grab a smaller box. It's totally fine. Because we used to say everyone runs his own race, when it means like I could lift or I could do a deadlift with 100 kilo or 220 pounds, 225 pounds, something like that. And but someone else, let's say, is doing 60 kilos or 135 about, and like for the other person, it would feel like for me the 100 kilos. So everyone runs his own race, and it so in the end of the day, you want someone to get a good workout in where they get something out of it. And if it's for you hard, if you're starting just sweating, your heart rate goes up and you have fun, then this is perfect. And we have skill version skill version for pull-ups. You can do ring rows, or actually I had struggle with shin splints. So I couldn't do double unders for a while and I had problems with running. So I did single unders or I did jumping jacks. Sometimes I just did a assault bike. So you can adjust every workout like for everyone. So everyone is able to do the workouts. And also for if you're watching the games, the CrossFit games, what is the World Championship, they are doing crazy stuff. But you could scale these workouts and you could do these workouts in your class or for yourself or whatever. So then you could say, I did the same workout like a games athlete. For sure, you're not doing the same weight. You may not doing the same movement, but you're doing a skilled version of it. As I said, for example, you have double unders. Instead of double unders, you're doing single unders.
Can you tell people what
That's
those
what you
are?
skill.
Can you explain to us what double unders and single unders are?
Oh yeah. So with a jump rope, a single under is if you're like jumping with a rope and the rope goes one time under your feet or past your feet.
Hmm.
And double unders would be if you're jumping and the rope goes twice under your feet.
Gotcha.
So
So there's modifications for everything then.
right, exactly.
Good to know.
And you were working to get like progression. So um, we're working on our strength for pull-ups that some persons they were started were not able to do in pull-ups, and then some month later they start doing pull-ups. And it was I mean I could do pull-ups. I was athletic before, but um, a lot of people making fun of the butterfly pull-ups in CrossFit because they're looking like, oh, you're just flying up and down on the bar and they're not looking like pull-ups. And that's why they people like if they wanna shit talking a little bit, it is yeah, they are not real pull-ups. But we are doing strict pull-ups in our training to get the stability and the strength for this because the butterfly pull-ups, this is more technique, and the sense out of it is more to get more pull-ups or to be faster on the pull-ups for a workout. For someone who is in my class, I don't need butterfly pull-ups for them because they're not on competitions. If they want to learn it, for sure. Um, but you have to work on the basics, and that's what we're doing there too. So in the classes, we're doing a lot of squats, we're doing a lot of deadlifts, presses, what could be a strict press, a push press where you help with your feet or with your legs, sorry, or when we do an Olympic liftings, what could be clean or snatch, split jerk, whatever. We're working slowly to progressions. You start with a normal PVC pipe, because so you should have fun in the class and you should be safe.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
everyone starts with a scale version. What will be for Olympic lifting, for example, it's the PVC pipe.
Okay. So let's talk about, before when we spoke, you mentioned that you have ulcerative colitis or UC for short,
Right.
and I have Crohn's. So that's one thing that we have in common. I don't know if you know the different, I'm sure you know the difference between ulcerative colitis and Crohn's. A
Yeah.
lot of people don't. We can go into that if you want to, but basically they're both autoimmune diseases. One just affects your colon and the other one affects your whole digestive tract. So that's
Right.
basically the difference. So when were you diagnosed?
It was February 2015. I was 19 years old,
I was 19. I
and
was diagnosed too.
yeah, that and this is the range where a lot of people like from 19, 20, 22. Yeah, I hear this very often. Like, if people they get diagnosed, then they get diagnosed like in this range of ages. Yeah, and yeah, it was 2015, right? And uh, so I got it for 8 years, almost 9 years in some month. Um, I I had so in this 8 years, I struggled with the disease or I had problems about 6 years. So the rest was fine. But what these 6 years were, they were fine.
Yeah.
That was a hell.
Yeah. How long did you battle with it before you figured out what it was or before you were diagnosed?
Uh, Actually, it was pretty fast. So I had so it started January when I was getting sick. I I just had a cold or whatever, a virus. I think it was just a cold, but I was still in job training. I had to ride in the train to Nuremberg, what is about an hour from where I live. So it was stressful early morning, coming home late, and still you still have to learn. And we had a lot of tests, so it was stress, and then I was cold too. But I said, oh, I have to go through that. Um, I was going to the doctor, and he gave me penicillin. I took that for a week. I was still cold, and then we had another important course. So I was like, okay, last week, and then afterwards, I could get some time off. So in this last week, I was really sick. I really felt not good. Um, and like after this week, I was going to the doctor and it's like, okay, it's still there, and I feel horrible. And he gave me penicillin again. And in the end of this week, I had diarrhea, and I my first thoughts were, okay, I took penicillin, can happen. But then I pooped blood, and then I was like, oh, I should go to the doctor again. This is not good. And his first reaction was, could be the penicillin, but I make you an appointment at a internist um, to make sure that he's doing a coloscopy. It was not getting better; it was getting more and more worse. So I had my coloscopy, and they couldn't look over all my colon because
Right.
he said it was so inflamed. I had open wounds, and he was scared to damage something. So but he made some tests and they sent it to a labor, or
To the
where
lab.
they could look,
Yeah.
yeah, to the lab, yes.
Yeah.
Um, and that was, he said, he told me right after the coloscopy, you have OC. I'm pretty sure, because the inflammation was really bad, and the tests, when they were coming back some weeks later, they were, yeah, it is OC. I didn't really know what it is, so I Googled it, um, and then I was like, I couldn't imagine like have a disease and it won't go away.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really realizing it. It was more like, oh, I'm sick, but we'll be fine. Um, but it like it took a while to it's getting better. I get cortisone, would help, but it was still like I had a lot of pain, and I mean the all the runs to the toilet are not
They're
that
not
nice.
fun. No, they're not.
No, absolutely not. You're you're in this is kind of a harder part. What affects your daily life? I mean, people can imagine that diarrhea is not it's not cool. Pain is not cool, but all the other stuff, what comes with it, what is maybe anxiety was for me definitely for going out, um, because you never know. And I was always, and I'm still a bit focused. Where is the next toilet, even
Exactly.
if I don't
Yeah.
need it? It's like, and that's kind of question where it pops up when I'm somewhere or going somewhere, and it's like, hopefully there is a toilet because it's inside of you. You can't get out now. Like you know, you're dealing with this, and yeah. But so it took a while to like getting back into like normal. It was, let's say, in the end of 2000. No, it was not the end of 2000. Like September 2015, I was going back into my job training. Um, the other time I was off because it was bad. Uh, it was still not good. And because of like riding the train there and back, because it was still in Nuremberg, I
Mhm.
had my symptoms. It was weird. I still had pain. I struggled so much with pain. I had cramps and spasm, and I don't know what it was. And they made another coloscopy, and they said, there's no inflammation, so you should be fine. But I was really, I had so much pain, and they said, yeah, maybe it's the stress. Um, and this was kind of like feeling helpless, maybe,
Mm.
because you asking the doctor, yeah, what should I do then? And he was like, avoid stress. It's my job training. This
If
is
I could figure
what
out
should I
how to
do?
do that, I would make $1 million in a day. Like,
Is this is that was no answer for me. Um, yeah, but I finished, um, and then my job was closer to my home now, so the stress was gone, and also the disease was better. The pain was gone. I had no problems. Was fine. That was about August September 2016. Um, and then it was fine for a while, uh, before it comes back really hard, and that it was different this time because I had a surgery on my knee, with something else, it's plica syndrome. I don't know. I I didn't know what it was before. Like it's like a fold in your knee. Yeah. Um, it's not a big deal. But after the surgery, I guess it was, I don't know, 2, 3 months after the surgery, I woke up at night and my whole belly was cramping. And I was like, oh, this is not good. Um, I had to puke. It was weird. Everything was burning because there was nothing in my stomach. So and I had pain, and I was sleeping at the toilet this night because I was exhausted. Um, and on the next day, I was calling my doctor, and he was like, "Yeah, maybe we should look up for what it is." They couldn't. They made a coloscopy again, but this time of my stomach, or yeah, and they couldn't find something. I felt like my gut is getting worse too again, and yeah, and that was the second active phase, uh, because I don't know, maybe West surgery. I have no clue what it was this time, but this time it was worse. It was 2017 then, and it knocked me out for about 2.5, 3 years, and that was a really really bad time. Um, I lost, especially 2017. That people diarrhea, yeah, could be like 10 times a day or something, but in 2017, I had the worst time was over 30 runs to the toilet a day, and you're you're losing absolutely everything what you eat, even if it was water.
Mhm.
I was running to the toilet, and I I was struggling because I lost blood,
Mhm.
a lot of blood, because as I said, in a coloscopy there are open wounds um in your gut when you have this. And for sure, when you're losing blood, you're not feeling well. I was completely white. I used to say I looked like a zombie because I really felt like a part of me was dying, but I was still kind of walking around.
Yeah,
It
like a
was really not
shell,
fun.
like you were a shell.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Excuse me. Yeah. So you say
No,
you were diagnosed in 1990 or at 19. I was diagnosed at
yeah.
19 in 1994. And so I'm coming up on 30 years. Like April of 1994 will be 30 years. And the only surgeries that I've had for my Crohn's, I know a lot of people that have dealt with it as long as I have had parts of their guts removed. They've had the
Hmm.
bags that they have to wear, that type of thing. I've not had any of that. I had in 2017, actually, I was admitted to the hospital and my CRP level, which is normally it's the C-reactive protein level, it's what they measure the level of
Yeah,
inflammation in your body for the
yeah.
people that don't know. And normal people, they say walk around at 3 to 10. You probably do like I do and walk around at between 60, 70, 75, just the level of inflammation that we have. I went in at to the hospital at 200.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
bad.
No, I'm sorry, 201. And they told me I went in at 201 and they told me that 200 is sepsis. And so I was so inflamed that my hands were swelled up so much I could not sign the paperwork for them to do surgery on me. So they had to
Wow.
hold the pen in my hand and let me just move. I couldn't reach back behind me and pull a pillow behind my head. I couldn't get up and go to the bathroom by myself. So you can only imagine
Oh,
the
oh, worst
mortifying
thing.
feelings that is. Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah.
And so what happened was I had an abscess that I didn't know about.
Okay.
And so the abscess had started fistulizing, like tunneling towards other organs. And so when they found it,
Mm-hmm.
they immediately had to drain the abscess. And then I had to go to Birmingham, which is um, in Alabama. It's UAB, is one of
Mm-hmm.
the best hospitals in the country. And so it's like a 3.5, 4 hour drive from here. So I had to go up there and have surgery done
Oh.
to repair the fistula. And once I did that, I mean, it took a few months for me to get back. And before I went to Birmingham, when I came home from the hospital here in Dothan, I was there for a week and I had bags and bags of steroids and fluids and antibiotics and all kinds of stuff trying to help clear it up after the abscess
Mm-hmm.
surgery. And so when I came home, they did not want me to go home without home health, which is people that come in,
Wow.
not, it's not hospice like in care, it's end stage of life care. It's just home health. They come in and they check on you and they make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do, and
Oh
they
yeah,
help you
okay.
get around and do things like that. But I told them I didn't want that, and the only way they let me come home was the fact that I could get a walker, like the just the
Okay.
little thing that you use
Mm-hmm.
to walk, because I
Yeah,
couldn't get up.
yeah.
I couldn't get up by myself, and my joints were so
Wow.
inflamed I couldn't sit down without just falling. And so you can
Hmm.
imagine when you're trying to go to the bathroom, it's not a good feeling. So,
Oh, this is not.
yeah, and so I'd have to take the walker with me everywhere I went in the house. And I was out of work for 3 or 4 months for that. And I
Hmm.
had had a surgery a few months before, and they think that's for something totally unrelated to Crohn's. And they think that's probably what caused my flare. So that when you say you had a surgery
Yeah,
and then you had a major flare, yeah. But in
yeah.
1994, when I was diagnosed, I had been dealing with it for a couple of years before that. I was in high school, and I was cheerleading, playing softball. Um, like I did all kinds of stuff. When I was younger, I did gymnastics, I did dance, I did, cheered and played softball, and just always active, always active.
Yeah.
And but when I was diagnosed, I'm not huge anyway. Like I'm 5 foot tall, and so my normal weight would always be around 100, 110. It's
Hmm.
not now, trust me. I'm too old for that now. It's not now. But so 110 pounds is what, like 50, 51 kilos, something like that.
Um, yeah, around that.
Yeah. So I wasn't very big at all. I mean, I'm tiny. So, but when I went to the hospital, I was 88 pounds. Not the time in
Oh,
2017, but when I first got sick, I was 88 pounds. I looked like a skeleton, like you say,
yeah.
a
Wow.
zombie. Like my skin was sunk in. It was
Yeah.
bad. It was bad. And so I had a colonoscopy done. Finally, the doctor that I was seeing didn't know. She couldn't find anything. And my mom, I was so sick that my mom actually went with me to the doctor, and she said, send her to a specialist. So the lady sent me
Yeah.
to a specialist, a gastroenterologist here, and they deal with everything gut wise. And so he did a colonoscopy, and immediately I was in the hospital. Like it was Crohn's. And so for the first 5 years, I had a flare about every time of year, like in the fall, just about every year at that time of year. Um, and then I had a Remicade treatment, an infusion, and you're supposed to do
Yeah.
it one time, and then after about 8 weeks, you do it again every 8 weeks or something like that. I can't remember, it was so long
I get
ago.
the same right now.
Yeah, do you, well, I did it one time and I was fine for 5 years, so I never went back for another
Oh,
one.
wow.
And so then I went to get another one because I had another flare. And when I did, I had a reaction to it. So my body had built up
Ooh.
um, antibodies to the medicine. So it was causing a reaction. Um, I was
Hmm.
almost in anaphylactic shock. They had to give me Benadryl, and I had to breathe into a bag. Just kind of hyperventilating and all. So I couldn't take Remicade anymore. I have tried Cimzia. I did Cimzia while I was pregnant, and it still scares me to death. But I don't know what that's going to do to my son. He's 12
Yeah.
now, but. And then I've done before that. I did Humira. I did Stelara after my pregnancy. None of these worked
Wow.
for me. Like,
They tried everything out.
yeah, I did Entyvio and infusion for a while. I even had a port put in my
Uh-huh.
chest because they have problems getting veins now from so many times of drawing blood and
Hmm.
sticking and IVs and all that. Your veins just kind of harden up a little bit. They build scar
Yeah.
tissue just like our gut does. And so I had the
Right.
port put in. Well, when I went to go get my Entyvio infusion the second time, they couldn't access the port. So I was like, what's the point? Why am I
Oh.
going to keep having something in my chest? Because you have to have it flushed. And if you don't have it
Hmm.
flushed, it can cause heart problems because it goes right to your heart,
Oh.
or like
Yeah.
a little further from your heart, but it goes right there so that your body can absorb the medicine. And so there was no point in me keeping it. So I had a surgery to remove that. And that's when they think that. So I guess I shouldn't say it was totally unrelated to Crohn's. It was related to Crohn's, but it wasn't in my gut. It was for the port. And
Mm.
so after that is when I had my flare. And the last colon that was in 2017, but the last time I had a colonoscopy done was in 2016, like November of
Hmm.
2016. So it was a a little while before that. And the doctor told me, he said he tried to take a biopsy, which is where they pull a little bit of the skin off, they test it, that type of thing. And he said, it's sanguinated. I was like, what does that mean? He said the skin just dissolved. And
Oh,
he
wow.
said, there's these kids' toys. I don't know if you're familiar with the Chinese handcuffs, is what they're called. You put your finger in either end and you pull it and it stretches.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he said that's what my gut is doing. And
Oh,
so,
no.
yeah, so that was the last time I had a colonoscopy was in 2016. I was supposed to have one done every 2 years, but last
Mm,
time I went to see him, I was doing okay. And he said, let's don't poke the bear, so to speak. So let's not,
yeah.
if you're not having any problems, let's not really worry about it right now.
Yes.
So, because we don't want to cause problems,
Right.
like, yeah, we don't want to cause problems. So,
You definitely don't want to do that.
no. So, I mean, prednisone seems to be the only thing that works for me, steroids. And I can't take
Hmm.
penicillin because I'm allergic to it, but I take other antibiotics. There's Flagyl or Cipro or things like that that are none of it's good for you. It's all,
Yeah.
not great. It does its job, but it's not good for you. And so steroids long term have caused more arthritis probably than what I would have had. Because there was one time I was on steroids, including while I was pregnant and on Cimzia. I was on them for a stretch of 4 years. So I gained a lot of weight, obviously. I got up to 171 pounds.
Wow.
Yes, I was almost as wide as I am tall, and that was not fun. I'm sure that put pressure on my feet and my ankles and my back and my knees, and
Yeah.
so, and it did. And so, yeah, but with the steroids, he doesn't want to put me back on those unless he absolutely has to because of the damage that it's done with arthritis and my
Hmm.
bones. And I call it the devil's Tic Tacs because they give me, I don't know, you know what Tic Tacs are, the little candy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I call it the devil's Tic Tacs because when I take them, it's like,
Yes. Yes. I can see that.
yeah. And so, especially after 4 years, but then after 4 years, they make you not want to
Wow.
sleep, make you have trouble sleeping.
Yes.
And so, when you
Oh
go
my
four
God.
years, yeah, when you go 4 years like that at a stretch, and
It
you have a
destroys
child,
you.
a newborn baby, it's very, very stressful. And so, I had to
Hmm.
keep taking them to offset the stress that I was under.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I don't know. A lot of people don't understand, like you were talking about with the poop and blood, and you're losing blood. You become anemic, and that
Yeah.
causes
Yeah.
fatigue. And people don't seem to understand that fatigue does not mean tired. Fatigue means
No.
exhausted. Like we are
Yes.
exhausted, and we stay that way. We fight through it,
Yeah.
but we
Right.
stay that. And then they don't
It.
understand, like when you're not eating, or even if you
Yeah.
are eating, if you're sick, your body's not absorbing the nutrients. So you go through
Yes.
malnutrition. So you can think of all the different problems that malnutrition would cause. It can cause heart problems, liver problems, kidney problems, bladder problems.
Exactly.
It can cause problems throughout your whole body. People don't
Yeah.
understand that. It can cause brain fog and and
Oh yeah.
stress and anxiety, like you said. Yeah, people don't understand
Yes.
that. And
Absolutely.
that's one of the hardest things to explain to people. It's not just a pooping disease.
Right. If it would be plus, if it would be only that, I could probably live with that. But the other stuff on top, this is where it causes the most like damage, or yeah, especially mentally, it's the most
Mhm.
challenging thing.
And especially
I
when you're
mean, yeah, if you
sick.
always have diarrhea, yeah, if you
Yeah.
have diarrhea and you want to go out, in 2017, I was not going out really. Um, that was it was not possible for me. But it's interesting what you said about like steroids, because I took cortisone at 2015, and this is where um, I had so much struggle to sleep because
Hmm.
you are even if you are not that stressed, inside of you something feels stressed.
Hmm.
It's hard to explain it for someone who never has taken it because you are tired. It's not that you're not tired, but you are in, everyone knows the fight or fly mode. You're in kind of that stage, but for 24/7.
Hmm.
And this causes, I mean, cortisol is a stress hormone. So you're literally taking the stress into your body. Um, and this was always a big deal for me. Also in 2018, I struggled a long time with problems with my sleep, and uh, it took me so long to get back into a better sleep. And I tried melatonin, I tried some others stuff, and doctors never really like, they were not really focused on that. They say, yeah, you disease, but I told them if I can't sleep, I turn crazy because like
Yeah.
I felt like in the worst moments I was kind of feel like drunk
Yeah.
because you had no sleep, and then we said if you're losing all that blood, you're I have problems with my concentration too,
Hmm.
and also the fatigue that you're feeling tired all the time. And I read something interesting about it. What I really what I think let people understand how it is, because sometimes it's like you're not even trying, but you are, let's say you getting up in the morning and you only starting your day with 40% in your tank, and you through making it through all the day, you have to give all this 40%, maybe a little bit more. And then if someone is telling me you're not giving you 100%, it's almost my 100%. I go over it. And on the next day, my tank is maybe 40% or lower again. But you, I always like, I kept saying to myself, like, it's just one step. You just got one step, and then you do the next one, because you can't think. I still struggle with planning something. Let's say someone in my family or someone asks me like, "Hey, what are you doing Sunday?" Like, it's still a problem for me, and sometimes I just say yes, and then let's see. Um, and on another, it's good to have people around you with we're telling you, "Hey, we're doing this on Sunday." I was like, okay, because then I don't have to plan. This is sometimes really is sometimes what I need, because uh, otherwise I wouldn't plan something myself.
Right.
And plans, I change my plans real quick. Um, yeah, but that's interesting what you told. Like, I think when I was diagnosed in 2015, the medicine, they knew a lot more about it since, like, through your time. I think it was different.
Yeah.
Um, they have not that knowledge. I mean, it's it seems now the disease not anymore, but in the past, like when I get it with 2015, it was still kind of new disease,
Yeah.
even if it wasn't.
Well, it's always new
And
to you if you've never heard of it and you're just now being diagnosed
right,
with it. Even if
right.
you have
And
heard
then
of it, it's a whole different thing
yeah,
once you're actually diagnosed.
right, yeah, and yeah. Oh, and I was it was 2018. I think it was 2018. I got because you also get an immune suppressant. For me, was Simponi. Simponi was the brand. I don't know what was the actual medicine. I forgot it. I think it was infliximab. It didn't really, or it did and did not help. It was getting better, but they were checking my CRP, and they were like, "There's no inflammation. It's all fine." I was like, "I still have all the symptoms. I'm not feeling fine." And then I was show off at in Munich at a specialist gastroenterology, and I for everyone who deals with whatever, even if it's not like Crohn or you see or like whatever it is with your digestion, show up at a specialist because they definitely know it better
Yes.
and they have more options for sure. So they made another coloscopy and they took like tests and it's like you're still inflamed. It doesn't help. So they get me another one. It was Remzima. It is no, this is infliximab. Like the Simponi was something else. Um, yeah, and that finally helped, but I still had some symptoms. I was still bloated all the time. I felt full, and I also had pain. The diarrhea was gone for sure, and there was no inflammation. Because there is another because CRP, this is what you measure in your blood,
Hmm.
and there's another what called calprotectin. This is to say it simple, the inflammation in your poop. So,
Yeah, those are
and
fun to do
I never
too, aren't
had
they? Those are
it's
fun.
I mean for me it's normal, but sometimes I'm talking to friends and like for them it's not normal, and
They're like,
sometimes I
ooh,
forget
why
it.
would you?
So, what are you talking about? It's like for me it's normal to talk about it, like form, consistency, everything. Like, and sometimes it's funny when I talk about with my doctor, because we both are interested in it and talking about it with like we both like to talk about it just for science and for medicine wise and all. That's kind of funny if a normal one who never deal with something like that, you're like, why are we talking like that? So
It's something we deal with all the
yeah,
time, but like
yeah,
this is part of
it,
our life.
that's life, right? And that's why I always check in it, because like if something's changing, then I can react. And the faster I react, the better it is.
And see, a
Because if
lot of people don't understand
inflammation,
that it's the same way for them as well.
right?
Like
Yes,
your poop's
yes.
going to tell you a lot about your health. It really
E-
is.
exactly, exactly.
But that's
Um,
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I want to say in 2019, I still deal with some symptoms, and then I was I was really like, okay, let's find out what it is. And I was looking up, I was reading studies, and I was really get deep into it. Um, I don't want to explain everything now because that would be too long and would too deep into it. It's maybe not that interesting for some others.
It is for us.
Um, it is for us, but I want to make it simple. So I think a really important thing is your microbiome. You have a lot of like the bacterial in your gut and your colon, but it's in your whole digestive. It's everywhere on your body. It's in and on your body, and it's very important. Never forget that. Um, but especially in your gut, it and what people I explain it like that. You got 2 to 3 kilos of something what you can't see with your normal eye. Well, like you need something what I don't know the name for it. What makes
Microscope
things
or
bigger?
yeah,
Yeah,
microscope.
microscope.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this 2 or 3 kilos, it depends on the person. It's crazy. So I was getting into it, and you can. There are some tests outside where you send them your poop, and they check in what's wrong. And they found out that I have not enough bacterials. There were two different ones where I had a need on, and I'm a lucky person because in my drugstore there is someone who is also kind of like interested in that stuff. And with her, I made let's say a gut recovery plan. So I took microbiome. I took how is it called? A sour milk acid. Um, it's it's it is really sour, and you're not drinking it. Like
Okay.
you have to mix it with water. Um, but it makes the in your gut the milieu the area it's sour, should be a little bit sour, and this is what it makes. This is the effect out of it. And if this area is like sour enough, it's better for your bacterial, especially when they have to grow. Um, and that helped. In like after I started, it took about 2 weeks, and I felt better. And then after a while, maybe 1 or 2 months later, everything was gone, and I felt really, really good. End of 2019, I stopped taking the Remsima, the infliximab, and yeah, I had no medications then. So I was talking with my doctor about it, and he was like, "It's hard. I don't know if it's the same in the States, but they can't give me a medication where they don't really have studies about it, and where it's not completely approved." He said it's good that I'm doing it, and if it helps, it helps. Totally fine. And he think that's the future. And honestly, that is the future. But we don't know a lot about it. Um, the thing is, um, we have endurance, and the endurance is not paying for stuff like that. So
Gotcha.
you have to pay this by yourself. But let's say the Remsima or so the cortisone, the endurance pays for all this medication, because this we have studies about it. It's a proof that it helps, even if it's not good for you.
Right.
Because
So
yeah, and
we have what's called the FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration, and they have
yeah,
to
yeah,
approve drugs for specific uses. And so a lot of times
hmm
we'll see they'll do clinical trials here though. And my doctor has talked to me about doing a trial before it, and I don't want to do a trial. So
yeah,
I mean, even though they've used it on, by the time it gets to a trial here where I am, it's probably in its third or fourth or whatever the final stage of trials is. But they do, but a lot of times it's medications that they've already approved for,
hmm
say, rheumatoid arthritis or lupus. Since these all are grouped into the same
yeah,
umbrella, it's approved for one of those, but it's not yet approved for Crohn's or UC. So that's why they're doing the clinical
right,
trial. So, but I've been medication free since 2017, and
great,
only by the grace of God. I mean, because I don't know
yeah.
what I'm doing that I'm doing right, and but I'll take it because that's
Okay.
that's a long
I
time.
I hope it's going on that way. I pray for it. This
And
is
we all know
awesome.
it's not going to stay that way. We will have flares, like we will. It's just part of the disease. But hopefully, the
Yeah.
next time won't be as bad as the last time.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah. This is interesting because like this is another stuff where it's always in your head.
hmm
You know it's always there.
hmm
It's kind of like something is the Satan is always in your back, and
yeah,
you never
always
know when the knife is getting into your back, and
when that
it's
demon's gonna pop
this
its
is a
head
kind of
out.
hard
Yes,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like you said about the bathrooms. Like anytime if I go somewhere I'm familiar with, I'm okay. But if I go
Yeah.
somewhere I've never been before, my first thing is if I can't find online like where the bathrooms are located, as soon as I get there, that's the first thing I look for. Where are the bathrooms?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you never know. I mean, you could be doing fine and then all of a sudden something happens
Yeah.
and just bam, you gotta
Yeah.
go. And the same way for normal people, I think, but it's not ingrained into them that they're going to have to. Like, we've dealt with it for so many years. We know we need
Right.
to know where the bathroom is. Like, we can't wait to
Yes.
find out where it is when we got to go. We need to know before we go.
No, yeah. You do not have really time. It's like
Right.
it goes fast.
You gotta go. You gotta go. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So,
what what would be interesting to know for me, like, have you ever like struggled with some symptoms, or did you ever like have you ever something with your digestion before, or something else where you think could relate it to that, or was it the first time when it popped up?
no, when I was a baby, my mom didn't breastfeed. And
Mhm.
as far as that goes, I didn't either because I wanted to make sure I could take care of my kid. I didn't need added stress of trying to do all that. So
Yeah.
I was formula fed and my son was formula fed. And so my mom would give me the formula that they had back then was basically milk formula,
Hmm.
and I would throw it up. So I had to have something. So my mom would end up giving me tea in my bottle. And I
Hmm.
mean, I would still have some of the formula and take some of it down, but it never occurred to the doctors to tell her to try soy formula or something like that, which I really don't care for soy. I kind of have an aversion to it now with my gut, but um,
Hmm.
the milk. And it turns out I have a milk allergy. I'm not lactose intolerant. Excuse me, my voice just cracked. I'm not
No
lactose
problem.
intolerant. I'm not lactose intolerant. I can eat cheese and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I tried a diet one time called the specific carbohydrate diet, SCD for short.
Hmm.
And that's where you can eat as many carbs as you want to, but they have to be certain ones. It depends on the chemical breakdown of the food. And
Okay.
like instead of
Interesting.
potatoes, you eat cauliflower because of the way the sugars
Hmm.
in the food are processed in your gut and the inflammation that they can cause. And so I was doing that, and the yogurt, like I love yogurt, but I would have to make my own yogurt and it would ferment for 24 hours to remove the casein, the milk protein in
Yeah.
it. Instead of commercial yogurts, they're only fermented for like 6 to 8 hours. And so
Yeah.
that type of yogurt I did great with. But if I go to the grocery store and try to
Oh,
buy yogurt, it's not going to be good for me. Ice cream, that type
that's
of
really
thing.
interesting.
I love ice
Yeah.
cream, but I know I have to prepare myself because I know if I eat it, I'm going to have to go to the bathroom. So I try to just eat it when I'm
Hmm.
at home if I want some and not be out somewhere else or not plan on going
Yeah.
out anywhere else. And so one thing that I'm interested to know is, have you noticed that, which this is the case with a lot of people with autoimmune diseases, I believe, and have you noticed that sometimes you get your days and nights mixed up? Like you just can't sleep at night, but then at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you just want to take a nap.
Yes. Especially when it was active.
Hmm.
Not only because I mean, yeah, I was like the disease makes you tired, uh, and not because of the fatigue. It was just like because sometimes at night I couldn't sleep. I was not tired and I was awake. Um, I think maybe that causes the sleep problems too. Now, oh, I really take care about my sleep now. It's very important. And I used to say if sleep wouldn't be a natural thing, it would be not a supplement. It would be yeah, it would be kind of supplement. Would be not allowed. It would be a cheating for sure. Um, it, I still have sometimes I have nights where I can't sleep right now. Um, but it's not that often anymore.
That's
Yeah,
good.
it's more when I'm stressed for sure. Um, because but yeah, when now it's I really try to have a routine to like on the evening. If I'm not in that routine, then I have struggles with it.
Gotcha. I know that like mine, I can have the same routine every day. Of course, it's a little bit longer for me at almost 30 years of diagnosed. So um, it's sometimes it's not necessarily that I'm not tired. I'm
Hmm.
exhausted, like you say, but my brain won't shut off. And
Yeah,
it's just,
it's kind of it keeps it's a motor where it keeps
yeah,
running even if you're not like I put the key out of the car. What's going on?
that's part of the anxiety, I think, that is caused
Yeah,
by it. And
yeah.
people don't
I
realize how much your gut affects your brain. So if there's something going
yeah,
on in your gut that you're not aware of, even if you don't feel it, there's going to be something
yeah,
going on in your brain because it feeds our whole body.
it
So
does.
talk to me about your nutrition. What kind of things do you eat? Is there a specific diet you're on? Or?
Um, so it changed. Um, so even let's start at it. In 2017, when it was worse, but I was still forced myself to do some sport. Even it was hard. I did it, and I did it a lot. I was maybe not the best, but it always gave me kind of a goal,
Mhm.
um, and a reason sometimes. Um, and that helped me to force myself to eat. I noticed that, let's say for fish, it's
Yeah.
pretty interesting. I couldn't eat all brands of fish. I don't know why. Some brands my gut was reacting, and on other brands not. So it's a little bit try and error. Um,
Always.
this
Even to
is
this day, it is. I'll go ahead and tell you
right.
it still is because our bodies
And the
change.
bad thing is right. And this is I said. The bad thing is I have some things where I always can eat. I never have problems with apples or bananas. They're
Oh,
always fine. Only if I eat too much, that's now. If I eat too much, I get bloated on the evening. I have no clue why, but I'm a little bit tired to find out yet. So there were, well, I forgot what it was, but I ate it on one day. On the next day, I ate the same thing, and my gut was reacting, and I was like, "Oh, I can't eat it right now." So I was honestly, I was trying to get calories in, and I had one, two, three, four, five. I had 9 meals a day, and I was still losing weight sometimes. I and it was weird. I think, but I learned with the time. I think if the inflammation is there, it's active. You should go, or what I doing now. When it's active, I go a little bit lower on my fibers,
Mhm.
especially if I want to do something in my regularly, like everyday, day-to-day life. I try to get my fibers in, even if it's active, because then I don't care. But if I want to do something, if I know there's an appointment or something, I reduce it. And this is still, uh, if I have a competition or if I have something on a weekend, I wanna do a vacation, whatever. I I started about 3 days before that. I reduce my fibers. 4 to 3 days before I start reducing my fibers slowly. That I have less problems on the trip or wherever I'm going.
Yeah.
Um, Now it's not that much anymore, but like when it was active, it was like it was bad. So I had to take care about that. Um, and so my last, so since my last active phase, what I was off of all medications, and then last year in can't remember, it was May. I guess it was May. Um, no, it was April. I had inflammation in my kidney and prostate. No clue why. It was from one in the other day, and then I was in the hospital to get antibiotics, so penicillin, and um, after I was leaving the hospital, it was really bad because my arm, where the needle for the IV was in, there was infection.
Oh, wow.
So I ended up in a hospital again with an abscess and a thrombus from about, I don't know if you can see that, here to up here.
Yeah.
It was close to blood poisoning. That's what they said. That was not good. And I get strong antibiotics again. Uh, and I was not thinking about it, kind of forgetting it, and they in the hospital were forgetting it too, or they didn't care. I have no clue. Um, and then some weeks later, I feel like, oh, it's coming up again. This time I don't know. I think it's every time it's different. I mean, yeah, I had to go to the toilet more often than usually. Um, I but it was less than 2017. I was, I know, let's say about 10 times a day, maybe sometimes a bit more often. But it was like, if I had to go, I had to go. That was emergency.
Yeah.
It was, um,
And people
and
don't understand
I
that for
struck,
normal people, like with
yeah,
normal guts, the times they go to the bathrooms, like
you can
maybe
hold it
one,
for a while.
yeah, and you can go maybe
Yeah,
1 to 3 times a day. For us, a normal day could be 10 times a day, and that's just normal. Not
yeah.
even when we're not sick.
45 is
Like,
normal for me right now.
is it? That's
I'm fine
good.
with that.
Yeah, about normal for me
It's
right
really
now
good.
too. But sometimes even when I'm not sick, it could be 10 times a day. It's just like you say,
I
day
got
to day
some
is
days where
different.
I like, I don't know why. Yeah, true. Um, yeah, and this time I struggled way more with pain. I had so many cramps. I don't know what it was, uh, but this time the pain was so hard. I explained it like that. It comes up really fast, and it was like someone throws an axe into your colon,
Yeah,
and then it stays in there. So, and this is the spasm, this is the cramp, and then it holds on. It was like, uh, I was exhausted sometimes. It's really, really, really hard, and I haven't took painkillers for a long, long time. Even in 2019, 18, 17, where I struggled, uh, I my last painkiller I took it in 2016, but um, last year when it was so painful, I said I told the doctor, I was like, I can't go anymore. Give me something. Give me something. Um, and the thing is, the painkillers, they were not really working that much.
and they're not good for
I
our
don't know
guts
why.
either.
It reduces maybe a little bit, but I was taking Novalgine and Tilidine, and I still had pain. It was like I didn't really feel that it was getting so much better with it. But it kind of was maybe for my mindset sometimes. Um, and then I took something else which releases a little bit the muscle um, because of the cramps that help more than the painkillers sometimes. But that was a hard time. And sorry, for me, honestly, because I, for me, what helped me to this time was my faith. I
Yeah,
really, because I was on a point where for me, the hardest thing was no medications, and then I'm back on it,
yeah,
everything, and I was struggling a lot, and I think that was my lowest point where I really uh, I prayed that I'm not gonna make it up to the next day because I knew I was getting up in the morning and it all starts over again.
yeah.
And I sometimes it was like, I don't know how.
And I was kind of at
It
that
was
point
really
in
hard.
2017 as well, like when I was in the hospital. And if it had not
Yeah.
been for my husband at the time bringing my son in. I told him not to because I didn't want my child to see me like that. But
Yeah.
he did it anyway, and I will always be grateful that he did, because when he did, that light went on. Hey, I've got something else, somebody else that's dependent on me. I've got to take care of
Yeah.
him. So I kind of snapped
Great.
out of it, because the first few days I was in the hospital room, the blinds were closed. Did not turn the TV on, nothing. I was just sitting in that dark room, and I would have to call
Yeah.
somebody to come and help me to the bathroom. It's just very, very depressing. Like,
Yeah.
and
It's
so
embarrassing
when I
kind of.
saw my child, I snapped out of it. So, and that's funny that you say that about the fiber, though, because when we go to traditional gyms here and we talk to people, and like before I got into the personal training myself and the nutrition myself, um,
Mm.
they would say, "Well, what's your diet like?" And I would tell them, and they're like, "You need to be getting more fiber. You need to be eating whole wheat toast. You need to be." I'm like, "Are you crazy? No, don't need any
No,
more
it is
fiber."
no.
I do not have a problem with that. I promise I'm good. But they don't understand that diet's not the same for everybody. And that's like
No,
when we're
it's
doing
individual.
nutrition coaching and we have to go through like what the person's lifestyle is. Do
Yeah.
you have any types of diseases? Do you have any food aversions? Allergies? What are the things that you don't like? Because you can't just offer general
Yeah.
nutrition advice to somebody. You can,
No.
but
And
they're much
it's
9 times out of
also
10 they're not going to follow it.
right. And it's also like, what do you want to do? And now I'm trying to come to my nutrition now, because this time the active phase, since the last time I started to have problems with digesting fats.
Hmm.
Um, I found out that I can't really digest it sometimes. So my diet right now is I eat fats, but I reduce it. I tr I get the fats in where I need. I'm focused on that. I eat nuts. I also like peanut butter, but I have to be careful because kind of something I know exactly my number where I can eat, but it's not a measurement thing. It's more like I see it and I know I can eat it today or I can't. I
Hmm.
know it exactly. And um because like how I know it, that's the thing. So for sure, that's why people please check your poop. It's
Yes.
very important because if
You
you
say
can
that about,
digest fat,
yes,
you see that.
it's going to be oily.
And
Yeah.
it's gonna, yes, it's oily and also if it's yellow.
Hmm.
If
And
your
a
poop
lot of it will
is
sit on
yellow,
top.
then yes, right. So this is important to know. And as I said, apples and bananas. I think it's the fructose. If I eat too much fruits, I mean that's a high number. If I eat too much, then I feel it. And I kind of I have problems with getting bloated on things.
Yeah.
And that's why I think even without my nutrition coach license, I would be a nutrition coach because I learned so much about it. And it's pretty interesting to know that um, people think about proteins, that protein is one thing,
Hmm.
but protein is one thing mixed out of all the amino acids. So
Hmm.
if you take in protein, your body has to separate all the amino acids because your body is not working with the whole protein. It's only working with the separated acids, and your body is mixing it together how everybody needs it.
Right.
Um, but for to digest this protein and to separate all that, your body needs enzymes. And one of the enzymes which can help you is in pineapple. It's called bromelain.
Hmm.
It's a very healthy enzyme because it's not only integrated in your digestion, it's also against inflammations, but um, it's like the most important thing to know about it. It helps you to digest protein. And because I get always bloated, I was thinking about because I try to get about 2 grams per gram per kilogram of my body weight
Hmm.
of protein into. Um, so it is kind of low protein because I also do intermittent fasting, so I have no breakfast. I feel better with it. I have a lunch what is about, I try to hit 1,000 calories. I'm never really measure because I know the portions. I'm pretty
That was
good
going
in
to be a
it.
question. Yeah. Do
Um,
you actually measure your proteins and all that? You eyeball it.
I mean, I know when I buy a yogurt or something, I know there is 500 grams or there's only 250 grams or whatever it is in there. So it's just the I have a good feeling for it.
Hmm.
Um, and maybe it comes with a disease. I guess it's part of it for sure. Um, and I also try to hit my fibers, what should be over 30 grams per day. So these are the two numbers where I'm focused at. And because of the high protein, I was trying out some capsules filled with pineapple powder and papaya powder, where the enzyme is in it. And since that, I'm not bloated anymore.
That's
So
interesting. I'd like for you to send me the link to that because I've never heard of that.
yeah, I can send you. Yeah, yeah,
Do you
for
take
sure.
probiotics at all?
Um, I do it for recovery to recover my gut. Um, right now, I do not because I want to let. I looking for a test to get let's get checked it out that
Hmm.
they can see what are my needs. But I have like in my drugstore, I know where the lady works and she's helping me out. We have like a regular thing what works for everyone. Um, I would say that even if you're not having digestion problems, you should hit your fiber and you could take microbiome. You could take some biotics or whatever to get a better digestion. It's never it can never be bad for you.
Right.
Um,
How about you said you
uh,
eat a lot of nuts and seeds? Does that not cause inflammation? They don't get like stuck in the scar tissue in your gut and all?
um, if it's active, then I have to be careful.
Yeah.
Um, I have no, so it is better with peanut butter because it's smooth. I have no problem, but I can't digest the fats that good. So
That's interesting because peanuts here, I'm not sure about over in Germany, but I don't know where you guys get your peanuts and peanut butter from, but over here peanuts are rotated with soy. And so
mhm.
peanuts are one of the most highly inflammatory foods that there are.
Wow.
And so my son has a peanut allergy, so I try to stick to like almond butter or
Mm.
sunflower seed butter, those types of things. But yeah,
Yeah,
I've
or cashew
noticed,
butter too.
yeah, yeah, it's good. It's all expensive though.
It's good.
But I
Oh
have
yeah.
noticed that when I eat peanut butter, like when I'm at work or something, if I get something with peanut butter in it, my gut reacts. And I don't know if it's because for 12 years,
Okay.
or 10 years, because he was two when he found out, if I've steered away from peanut butter for so long that now when I try to eat peanuts or peanut butter, it I notice a difference. And it may be that I was noticing it,
Yeah.
that I had a difference before. I just didn't notice it because I ate it all the time. So it was just a normal part of
Hmm.
life. So, yeah, that's interesting because my doctor did tell me to stay away from like nuts and seeds. I love them, just regular, like roasted almonds, sunflower
I
seeds.
do not eat a lot, so it's not that I eat a ton of it. I I I'm not taking a whole hand. I just taking maybe 10 nuts or and that's it.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if it will be different if I eat more. With peanut butter, I if I eat too much, I definitely feel a difference. And I definitely feel it on the next day for sure. Um, so that's why I said I have to stay under a specific number where I never measured. It's just in my head when I see it and it's like, I can eat that. And then I know exactly when it's too much. That's pretty funny. But it's the same with if we having a game night or something, and yeah, for sure, then I eat like a piece of sandwich and pizza or something. Um, I can eat it, but I definitely know that on the next day, I won't be able to perform my 100%.
Yeah.
This
So
is,
you have noticed
and
a difference just
yeah,
completely
yes,
physically, like with your performance and all.
yes, I feel that for sure. Um, and on what's interesting on a competition, I eat because then you have to get a lot of calories in
Hmm.
on this day. So I try to eat grapes and bananas. They're always good. An apple, if it's not too close to the next event, because apple is more fibers.
Yeah.
Uh, this is helping me a lot, and I also, how is it called? Uh, the rice cakes.
Hmm.
They are good, or not. There's not only rice cakes. We have corn cakes. It's the
Hmm.
same, but with corn. Oh, they taste amazing.
I've never
Just in
heard
a
of those.
competition,
We
it's
may have
hard
them
to
here, but
eat.
I don't know.
It. I don't know. They have it in the States. I'm pretty sure you guys have a lot.
Yeah. We have a
Um,
lot of trash too, as far as food goes.
yeah,
A lot
yeah,
of junk.
I
Yeah.
see.
Um,
Because I'm close to Grafenberg, where
yeah.
the army base is, and I was working there in the past before I was going to school. So I was there in a PX, so in the shopping center, and they have good stuff, and you definitely can get good stuff, but it's more expensive. And let's say if you're not really into nutrition, if you don't know what are the ingredients, if you don't understand it, then it's hard.
Yeah.
But I guess it's kind of the same in German stores. The difference, what I noticed is maybe that we are more into traditional stuff.
I think your government
Um,
regulates a different way as far as
in
food and the way foods are processed than ours.
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah. There are a lot of regular. Yes, this is the law is always behind it. So, um, like it starts with the farmers where they have to what they could put on their fields,
Mhm.
um, and then how to process it. But it's still people they need to learn a lot more about food. And
Yeah.
I realized that I was in the past I was working for the railroad in Germany, and one of my coworkers he and I'm still shocked because he was telling me, so when you look at the calories and protein and carbohydrates and fats like on the package, you see all this per 100 grams in Germany.
Mhm.
It's and you can read it. It's on there. And he told me that I don't know, maybe 2, 3 years before he found out that it's per 100 grams and not for the whole thing. And I was like, it's on there. You just have to read it. It was like, I thought and he didn't understand why. The thing is that you could see 100 grams of this in what is like 100 grams of beans to 100 grams of a yogurt.
Mhm.
You see the difference. And I was shocked that he didn't know that because for me it was what?
That's funny too, because we'll have like snack size bags of chips and, you know,
Mhm.
um, those types of things. And it'll tell you the amount of calories per serving, is what ours says, per serving. But that little snack
Yes.
size bag of chips could be 2.5 servings. And people aren't
Yeah.
accounting for that. They're just thinking that, hey, it's a snack size, so it's one serving.
Right.
No, it's not. It's not.
Right.
And that's
That's
why,
that's
yeah,
the problem.
yeah. And so people here eat a lot of processed foods. I know I'm guilty of it. I'm
Hmm.
guilty of feeding my son with it, and it's just it's not good. And I'm trying to
Yeah.
get out of it for my health's sake, for my son's health's sake, because we don't need to be eating that stuff. And so I don't know. It's pretty nasty, some of it.
Yeah.
Do you
I
eat
think
meat?
I eat meat, but not that much. I kind of feel if I eat a lot of meat, um, how should I say that? It slows me down.
Yeah. So what types
Um,
of protein do you eat?
um, so hmm, this is interesting. So in my daily life, I like to eat eggs for lunch, um, because it's fast. They have good nutrients, and I like it. You can spice it up however you want it. It's fast. I put some vegetables in it. Now it's pumpkin season, so I always make a pumpkin. Um, I on the evening I take quark or yogurt, cottage cheese. I mix a little bit protein powder in it. It's more for the taste that I get
Mhm.
some. It's a sweet tooth too. Um, I because I don't know why, but sometimes I struggle with ice cream. So
Milk.
I looked up for how I can make my own ice cream. Honestly, it's pretty easy for me because
Mhm.
I take a yogurt, a low-fat yogurt, whatever it is. I probably grab the cheapest one. Um, and then I put protein powder in it, and it's a vegan protein powder because it makes so if you put a whey protein powder, it's not thick enough. But the vegan protein powder thickens up, and then I put cocoa powder in it or whatever you want, honestly. And then I put it into the freezer, and that's my ice cream. If you want a bit more fluff in it, you have to put it in a mixer because then
Mhm.
because of the mixing, it's get air in it, and this is how they do it in industry. You eat if you buy ice cream, it's not just like ice; it's also a lot of air in it.
Yeah.
So you pay for the air too. So my ice cream, I can't eat that much because it's a lot because there's no air in it. It's just a
Yeah.
yogurt.
It's very thick.
But I like to put some spoons on it. I also like dark chocolate on the evening. I melt it, put it on top of it, and just I do not eat anything where I don't like. So I try to have a good relationship to my food because it can turn out that you're having problems eating. Um, yeah, and protein sources, as I said, it's I don't really drink protein powder that often. Maybe if I'm traveling or not even if I'm traveling, maybe on competitions. Um, and for lunch, it's eggs. Sometimes, yeah, I eat meat, chicken, um, and fish. I like fish too. Yeah, that works for me pretty good. I also like beans, but it's like I try to not put too much into it because I'm still scared of getting bloated or something.
Yeah.
But
Gas.
yes, yes. That's always a thing. If I turn my fibers down and I get back on it, I try to start a little bit slower because my
You have
body
to
should
acclimate. Your
get
body has
on
to get used to
track.
it again. Yeah.
Yes.
That's funny because I don't use whey
And
protein powder either. I use organic vegan powder because I struggle with the whey, and I think it has to do with the milk. So I
I
struggle
don't
with
know
the
why,
whey.
but I did
Yeah.
too a little bit. I can drink milk. There's no problem with that.
I don't like
But
it anyways.
the whey protein powder is, I don't know, it's different. And that's also, I, I don't know why, but I feel better if I eat it in a quark or yogurt or cottage
Mhm.
cheese is if I would drink it. So
So my doctor
yeah,
told
so
me, I don't know if this works for you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
sure.
he told me that the least amount, if I wanted to concentrate on protein, the least amount of legs that an animal has, the easier it's going to be for me to digest. So obviously
Okay.
pork and beef would be the hardest to digest. And then like chicken,
I
turkey,
struggle a lot with pork.
yeah,
I don't know why.
chicken, turkey, those types of things. And then after
Hmm.
that would be fish, but only certain kinds of fish. Like I love salmon and tuna
That's interesting.
and tilapia. And I know salmon has a
Yeah.
higher concentrate of fat in it, but I can't eat a
Yeah.
lot of it at one time. I can eat maybe a little small piece of salmon. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so I don't know if that's the same for you. I love steak, but
Yes, me too. But
it's
that slows me down.
it does.
And
And bacon is my
like,
favorite food in the whole world, but
oh,
it's, and I can eat a whole pack of it by myself, but I know that I'm going to be struggling. So
yeah.
I try to stick to a few pieces at a time. But yeah, eggs is a great protein source. I haven't really gone so much towards the beans so much just because of the gas.
Hmm.
And I'm not as active as I was before, so it's harder for me to get rid of that, if that makes sense. And so I'm cooped up in an office with people all day long, pretty much at work. And so
Yeah.
Brady can tell you that. Like, you don't want to be
Yeah.
around me if I've eaten beans. Like eggs too, usually. So yeah, that's we both steer towards the same things and away from a lot of the same things. But think about being a
I
guest. You
I
don't hear
couldn't
me?
hear the first part of it. Now
Oh,
you're back. Yeah.
okay. So what do you think about being a guest again on the podcast?
Sure, I'm in. It was a
Okay.
pleasure to be there, and thanks for having me for sure. And was fun. I learned a lot, and it's good to talk about with someone who's doing kind of the same thing, and who knows. And I hope so that we can reach out to people who are maybe dealing with problems of digestion, and because it's hard to talk about it. Who wants to talk about like sitting on a toilet or whatever?
Right. Or blood in
It's
their
hard
poop.
for
Like
most.
nobody wants to hear
Or
about that.
blood, yeah,
People might want to hear about it, but they don't really want to talk about it. It's embarrassing to a lot of people, and it took me a long
yeah,
time for it not to be embarrassing to me. It's part of my daily life, and people are
yeah,
not going to be aware if they're not made aware. So,
yeah. True.
I'm going to end the recording here, but don't hang up just yet. So I want to thank everyone for listening. And again, this is Werner Lippert. He is from where in Germany, did you say?
I'm close to Grafenberg. I
Grafenwald.
think
Okay.
Bavaria, Grafenberg.
Okay. And so he has agreed to be a guest on the podcast again. So we hope you guys will stay tuned.